Hi guys, hi, welcome. How's everyone doing today? Quick introduction, my name is Bree. Hi, I am a digital artist and I make tutorials so that if anyone is looking to, figure out the ins and outs of different types of art styles, techniques, you can. This one is one that I've recently put out. I also have been working on this during my lives. So this is more of my painting style. Hello, hi, how are you? Good to see you, Tarana. So we've been working on this. I plan on continuing to work on that today. I have made a tutorial as well for this bookshelf, and I've obviously been doing a lot in limited color palette, and I have tutorials for things like this as well. So, and probably my most thorough environmental piece that's also a tutorial is this one. So yeah, I have a variety of different kinds of tutorials if anyone is interested. If you're just wanting to hang out, ask questions, just chill, that's what today is for. Yeah, how is everybody doing? Happy Sunday. I added some details on this that I didn't have yesterday during the live, so I will show what I added. And it was the detail on this wood, the highlights. So let's see, where did I put it? There it is. So this is how we left it yesterday. And then I added this. And I think that just helps bring it more to life. Oh, thank you so much. I very much appreciate that. Flo's tutorials are fantastic. That's awesome. Flo is a wonderful resource. I don't know what kind of art tutorials you're typically looking for, but another artist that I really like and heavily recommend is James Julier. He does really cool, he breaks down landscape pieces very easily and makes them doable for everyone. I love his stuff as well. So yeah, hi everybody. So this is what I've been working on. It's not complete. I do have a sketch. I have a light sketch in the background so it's a little easier to see, but I have the darker sketch. The darker sketch is, it's been adjusted because I did make some changes to the way that the room was going to come together. I'm from the United States. So I'm thinking one of the other things that I want to do next, I'm thinking of, I want to put the cat here, so I might do the cat here. And then I want to do some sort of picture frame, ornate picture frame, and figure out, maybe have a ghost in the background or something. Water brushes for creating watercolor Japanese style artwork. Oh, awesome. That's awesome. This little watercolor leaves, flowers, and similar. I recently got into watercolor over the last year, and it's really fun, and I love how many different styles there are out there. So that's cool. That's wonderful. Okay, I am going to write all of that, and then that's part of it. I'm going to just grab, cut and paste, put this on add, and then combine it with that, and then bring this down. Okay, so now I have all the highlights for the fireplace, and I'm just going to combine all these. So now that frees up some layers, and I'm going to also, nope, don't do that, combine this because I know I'm just running out of layers, so I want to make sure that I I'm taking care of that before it actually becomes an issue. I don't have advice. Perhaps you should talk to a professional. Which professional, you ask? I don't know. Maybe a doctor, authorities. Okay, I'm going to combine those. I'm going to keep the shadows separate just in case I do end up deciding to do it differently later. I'm going to select the color black to make the frame up here because I find it's just easier to, sorry, I got distracted. Do end up not sharing. See, I'm combining words from the chat with what I'm doing. So I found that if I start, especially in a darker setting, if I just start with black and then move my way forward using lighter colors, it tends to work better than starting with the color I think I want, which I keep thinking, oh yeah, I'll pick the right color brown, but then in how dark of a setting it is, the brown usually ends up looking too light. So I've just been starting, I've learned my lesson, just start with black, just do that. If you're wondering what brush I am using, I'm using, wow, words are really not wording for me today. I'm using the Inca brush, and that is the most widely used brush throughout this piece. And the only other brush that I've really been using is the hard air brush. So those are pretty much the only two that I've been using. For smudge, I mostly use the Inca brush, though there have been a couple times where I've used the soft blend airbrush. And I think I'm going to attempt to make it like a gold sort of gilded frame. Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I know I'm very, very, like, I'm attached to this brush. It is one of my favorites, but it also depends on what I'm making and creating. So while I like Inca, it's not necessarily something I use that often in, say, like my nature. I might use it for like creating branches, stems, and even like trunks of trees, but majority of the time you're gonna, like, my go-to like of the brushes that come in Procreate, you'll see in the nature pieces, I tend to use leather wood, which is already selected, as you can see, and also the Aurora brush, and I amend it and use different portions of the brush that I think work for different types of like shrubbery and greenery. But for when I'm doing like inside gilded frame, right? When I'm working like inside, I just find that I like the texture. I like that, you know, it offers like color variation when smudged, but it's not too soft. In my older work, I used to make everything soft. So I feel like my paintings would be kind of flat just because nothing in particular really stood out. And so I've been, over the last, 5 years, I've really been focused on making sure that I allow some parts to be in sharp focus and some to be more blurred and softer. Sort of like when a photographer takes a photo and you'll have something that's more in frame, like, or more in focus, and then you'll have some stuff out of focus. I try to keep that in mind when I'm painting, which is why the fire back here is, if you look, it's actually blurred out. So the details on that are a lot softer and in less competition with what's going on in the front here. And I'm not going to get too attached to the frame, because if I'm doing like the swirls and stuff, of like a gold gilded frame, I expect that I will need to probably paint a little bit outside of the designs. So we're just going to have a rectangle as our guide. And then, let's see, let's go into like a yellow. I'm going to use this kind of, I probably have a variation somewhere on here close like that one, but we'll go with that. And then make sure I'm on my own separate layer, and I am going to make sure I'm on brush. And I'm thinking do something that sort of has some sort of swirl. Nope. Let's see. Okay, so then maybe have this go over here. So obviously I would have black underneath here soon, but I'm just trying to get the shapes down of how, like, what I want around this frame. Hi, Kate. Thanks for joining. How you doing? Welcome. Hello, hello. Maybe I'll do that. Okay, and I'm going to duplicate this, and I'm going to flip it horizontal, and I'm just going to bring it across the other side. So that way I'm not having to hand paint everything, and then I'm also keeping things somewhat consistent. I also might duplicate it, and if I can figure out how to do, there we go. And then have this as the center, and then I can duplicate. So I will just erase right here. I will duplicate this, flip horizontally. There we go. I'm going to combine those layers. So right now I have them all right there. All right, get a few more of the swirly design parts down, and then I will start correcting the colors. What should we do? What should we do? I'm thinking maybe something like, I think that could be kind of fun. I'm going to grab it, copy, flip horizontally, put that here. Okay, and then so I could obviously do, I can do a whole bunch of intricate designs, or I can just do some lines to sort of suggest that there might be some work in here, but not over the top. I could also put in a bunch more detail. I think I'm going to do lines though. I don't want this to end up being too distracting to the rest of the piece. I do want it to be like a statement, but I don't want it to be the statement, you know? So I'm pretty much going to just try and keep the rest of it pretty simple. All right, And now I'm going to the back, which is the black, and I'm going to draw in the parts that weren't painted because it was a rectangle, just to give it some shape. All right, and then do this here too. And then, for example, for this part here, I'm actually going to, I think, take the eraser, and I might, make it a little bit more fancy looking in a second, but I might try and see what this looks like where it dips a little bit, but let's see. And I might be able to get away with putting something here. I think that would help balance it out. I think that could help. And just erase, clean it up a bit. I think that looks good. If anyone has an opinion that they feel strong enough to share, by all means, feel free to share. If you disagree, it's okay. I can take feedback. Oh, thank you. I promise I was not fishing for compliments, but thank you. I just want people to feel comfortable to be able to share their thoughts and opinions. I may not always take everyone's feedback and do something with it, but I am always open for hearing the feedback. I think it's also a good practice to listen to feedback, because sometimes we get really stuck in the safety of our own thoughts, and we don't consider that sometimes there's other, better, different ways to do things. Okay, so now that we're here, I am going to make this darker. And then I'm going to add a clipping mask specific to that. Then I'm going to grab something like that. There we go. And now I'm going to, I did this yesterday, I'm going to sort of fill in some spots and smudge it around so that we get this sort of sense of like the gold light being picked up in certain spots. It would help if I was on that though. There we go. Much happier. Okay. And it's turning up very, very, very vibrant on this camera for some reason. It's fine. In person, it doesn't look like that, but I try to go based off of what the camera looks like to you guys. So I'm gonna lighten up some of this. And I still might actually have to darken this up. It's fine though. I think that probably looks better. I don't want to overdo it because I do want to have some of this firelight catching on parts of the bottom here as well. This switch has my aesthetic. Awesome. I'm like, okay, we need some ornate wood decor, you know? I might have hit myself in the ass a little bit with that when it comes to trying to figure out the other furniture, but it's cool. It's fine. We'll figure it out. Okay. So now we shall do, I'm going to combine those. And I am going to, for now, I'm going to use the add. And I'm probably going to do a little bit of this teal catching here and maybe a little bit more of this yellow catching over here. And so then when I also make the ghost in here, or whatever picture I end up deciding, I might have a little bit of this reflected in there as well. We'll see. So let's start with the teal. I'm going to start with darker teal than the light teal, but maybe that's a little too dark. So maybe something like that. I'm going to my airbrush, hard airbrush. Reminder that I'm on a separate layer with the add blending mode on, so that it gets this sort of glowy effect. Or adding in color or adding in light, essentially. And it may not 100% be coming through right now, but hopefully it will. Let's take off the sketch so it's just a little bit cleaner, easier to see. And I might, we'll see what happens, but I might take a photograph from Pexels or Unsplash or Pixabay where it's a royalty-free use, and try and find, for just a little bit in the background, some sort of like wallpaper that I can use as an overlay just to help create more of an environment so the wall's not as flat. But we'll get there. Just an idea I thought I'd throw out. Okay, so it would likely catch just a little bit on here. I don't want to overdo it, you know, like you can definitely push the light in areas that typically wouldn't see the light, but you just want to be careful with overdoing it. Because if I made every line equal in this color, it loses the effectiveness of highlighting and it ends up almost becoming like part of the line work itself. So this would not be nearly as impactful, I think, if I made everything outlined at the same intensity. It might look cool initially, but if everything on the page was this intensity, it'd be really hard to figure out what to look at. So this gives that subtle suggestion of light without, I think, overdoing the focus. And I also want to be mindful and careful of how far up I bring this lighting. Sorry, if my kids are too loud, they're just squealing today and having some good old fun. But you don't want, right, like the further up I'm going, the less light that would likely be caught up here. So you can certainly still have a couple of highlights here and there, but I would make them lighter and less frequent. You really don't want to have too much going on. So yeah, I'd probably stop the light somewhere around here and not go any further up. And another thing I want to do real quick. So here's the frame. I'm going to duplicate it in case I mess up. It's always a good idea until you're certain of how you want it to look. But as I was just saying, light would be much more relevant down at the bottom, especially because those are where our light sources are coming from. And then the higher we get into towards the ceiling, it would be more in shadow. So I'm going to take my selection tool, the freehand tool, and I'm going to grab right along here. Now I'm going to use feather, and I'm going to just increase the amount to around maybe 25%. I could do higher. Maybe I'll try 50. We'll see how 50 looks. And then I'm going to my adjustments, and I'm going to the hue, saturation, and brightness, and I'm just going to darken it a little bit. So there's this gradient, this gradual darkening. You know, this is, you know, at 100%. So it is, you can see it's got this little gradual darkening happening. And I can increase opacity, or not it's saturation. Can't really tell too much here what that does, but I'll just keep it at 50 because I don't want to, there's no need to mess with that if it's not even. So now, before, after, before, after. So hopefully it makes more sense now why it would be darker at the top, and especially once we start adding hopefully something in here, won't look as awkward. But okay, and now I'm going to grab maybe sort of this orangey, no, I'm gonna go with this creamsicle-y, and I'm gonna go back to my add blending mode, and I'm gonna start just slightly adding in some of the other highlights. Now this color can absolutely engage and catch in certain spots over here too. We don't want to overdo it, but it's okay that there is some yellow and blue lights interacting with one another. And just a little bit here, not too much. Have it catch there. If you really want like one spot to be nice and vibrant and really showcase light, you can just really hyper focus on one spot. There we go. And that can help create a sense of like, I don't know, like glistening, catching the light. I do, when I'm using the add mode and I'm utilizing the hard airbrush, I do have it down in percentage, around 65%. And the size I might change, but this allows me to gently and slowly build up the color. And if I want, I just press, well, unless I'm using the wrong thing now because I switched colors. So it allows me to gently build up rather than immediately have that, unless I push down really hard. And then if I just keep going the same spot, it just slowly builds up. Alrighty, we're just gonna do a little bit here. If I mess up, just take an eraser. It's not a big deal. If you want to soften it up, you just take the smudge tool. You can smudge it out if it's a little too concentrated in an area. And obviously it depends on what your purpose is for your piece and where you plan on using it and those types of things. But in general, it's important to make sure that your piece reads from a distance. Usually most people are not going to be looking at my piece like this, right? Most people at worst are going to look at it maybe at this up close. So you have to ask yourself, is the amount of line work that I'm stressing about right here worth that effort? You know, like something like this, I could clean that up, but do I really need to? Probably not. Most likely when I finish the face, that's probably going to be the biggest focus. That's hopefully where the eye is like drawn. So you just like, I just encourage you, don't try and be perfect at everything. Be mindful of what you're rendering, how much energy you're putting into it, because there's a lot of parts that people just aren't going to notice. Like their goal would literally have to be like, I'm going to zoom in and see exactly what each brush stroke looks like. I've done that to someone's art, and what I found, this, not perfect. I've done that to understand how much do they actually render up close. Okay. So I think we're getting like a good use of both lights. I might add just a little bit more up here. I might use this one though. My youngest is like he is on an emotional rampage today. He just, everything's upsetting him. I feel bad. Just one of those days, I guess. Okay. I am making a scene. Hopefully it's gonna have like a cute little witchy girl, and I want to have like bookshelves, maybe like a candelabra on some of the bookshelves, maybe like a window over here. I haven't decided. For sure I want a bookcase over here, maybe a window here, and maybe like a candle. I don't know, but we're getting there. We're getting there. How are you? I'm a perfectionist, so I definitely stress about small details. If I can, so, oh, thank you so much. So in my other personalities, so I am a certified life and relationship coach, and I used to coach people who were going through abuse and trying to rebuild their lives afterwards. And something I've noticed, whether you're someone that comes from an abusive background or are just raised in a culture, society where mistakes and failure is like shame-inducing, perfectionism is actually it's a coping strategy. It's a coping mechanism, and it's one that can really impede our ability to produce things. It's our way of trying to protect ourselves from judgment, criticism, right? Because if I do this perfectly, no one can tell me it's wrong. If I do this perfectly, then I don't have to feel shame if someone doesn't like it, right? So we try so hard to protect ourselves through perfectionism, and it is a coping strategy, but I think it's like a distorted belief that's driving it, and most likely nothing in this world is perfect. Nothing. There is nothing in this world perfect. Ever. I'm all right. And yourself? I'm great, thank you. And I say that hopefully not to discourage you, but to alleviate the pressure. I have found that the more I loosen up, the better I get as an artist, the less pressure I put on myself, the less expectation. Most times people don't recognize the mistakes that you recognize. So, for example, I'll put this piece down. Here's one that I've painted before by hand. I could give you a lot of critiques on what I hate about this, and most likely you guys won't pick up on it. By all means, feel free. You know what I mean? Like, tear it apart. That's fine. I give you permission. But most of the time, we are our worst critic. And most people are not coming from a place of critique or criticism, but enjoyment of art and creation, right? So most people are going to view this and just go, I like this or this about it, or wow, those colors. Some people might just be like, that's not for me. But anyone who kind of has a really negative opinion, either they are an art critic, and if that's the case, great, thank you for the feedback. And if not, it's likely they're a very unhappy person, and this is the way they feel happy. Maybe not happy, but this is the way that they feel empowered in their life. When we have little control, the way that we can control our world is by controlling how others feel. And some people do that in a negative way, and some people do that in a positive way. So, and I really am not a fan of this one, but I've had a lot of people like this one. Can't stand it, that's fine, I like this one better. It's like the same style, but I did this one, I think, more efficiently than the last one. I didn't plan out the last one. But yeah, I think watercolors helped with loosening up my expectations. Watercolor was a medium that I used to hate, and utilizing it has been really, really helpful because it gave me permission to just allow the water and the paint to do what it's going to do. And, it's been good. Let's see. Does this work? I don't like that. This is the only thing I don't like, is trying to figure out how to keep the intensity of the render. Okay, cool. So now I can get rid of this. Yay. Okay, so now we have this. And again, I'm so not trying to be annoying. I know that I held myself back for way too long because I was just so concerned with, but it's not good enough, but it's not perfect. And it only stunted me as a person and as an artist. Make mistakes, that's how we get better. So this was before, and now this is after we put in the work to render it. So let me zoom in. That was before just getting our shapes and some of the color down. This is after we've corrected color, put in some shading, highlights. And why it is so important we know where our light sources are. Okay, so now I'm going to the layer beneath it, and I'm going to grab the rectangle and just go like this, and then I'm going to fill it with the color black. So that way it's easier for me to start painting in this background. I'm going to do a clipping mask. And let's see, maybe a soft blend. And red's probably not gonna do it. Let's try dark teal. Green. There. Now I'm going to make some circles here just to sort of help, and maybe put some black back in it, but not too much. But we do want to be able to tell where the frame is. Definitely stops me from creating a lot of the time or finish a piece. And like, here's the thing, most people identify most of the time with people that are being honest and real about their difficulties, right? Not that you want to like, don't go too far with that. Like, don't be like, oh my God, guys, my life's always a mess. But, you know, it's okay to admit you're human. It's okay to show and be real and be like, this is how my pieces come together. Sometimes they show up perfect, sometimes they don't. This could fit right into a game. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so I think that's probably enough to like suggest, right? Like it's separate from the background. So I'm going to combine now. I can always change, adjust if needed. And now I stare at the canvas and wonder what to do with my life. Clipping mask. So I want to do a ghost. I'm going to start with a dark gray. I kind of want it to be, we'll see. I have an idea in my head. It may not come together. We have learned. Just because you have an idea doesn't mean it's going to work. So I want the ghost to be somewhat realistic, if there's such a thing as like a realistic ghost that looks like this. I don't know if ghosts are real, but I highly doubt they're looking like this. I highly doubt they're walking around looking like a transparent sheet, but and if I feel like it's too like saturated in an area, which at this point I do, I'm going to take my eraser and just free up some spots, because then when I go back in, I can just blend it so it's not too obvious. I can always paint in more of that gray color as well. There is no change we can't fix. It may feel like, oh God, how can I fix that? But it might take a few tries, but you can do it. Crazy children. Okay. And I might make it just a little bit darker, because again, I don't want it to compete with the background, but I do want it to be a part of the piece. One of the other things that I think would go nicely, maybe I should focus on a face. Maybe I should do that. it's giving me little nightmares. I have to look that up. I actually have no idea what that is, and I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm seeing it's a mobile game. Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cool. Thank you. That's quite the compliment. I'm going to do black here. Get in my eyes. I'm thinking I might just do eyes and nothing else. So that way, like, we're not speaking for the ghost's feelings, you know? It, like, it's up to, the ghost is just ghosting. Oh, cool. And, okay, so there's our ghosting ghost. I am going to do a add. I'll probably have to turn the opacity on that down. I do want to get a little bit of this teal picking up here, and maybe I'll get some of that yellow picking up there. I do have to get going in a few minutes, but I'll probably come back on in a little bit. The reason why I have to go though is I promised my husband he could go pick up some pizza because it's football today and he really wanted pizza, and he makes food for me all the time, so it's really the least I could do. No, not eraser, dang it. Stop that. I will be lightening this, I promise. I'm just trying to get some of the color down before I blend it out. Okay. Okay, and then I'm just going to take my eraser and do the soft blend. I have the opacity down quite a bit. I want to make sure I have the size at a good size. And just gently, I don't want to overdo it. I'm just going to move in soft little circles to bring up some of the color. There we go. I think that looks better now. He supports the 49ers. I tried so hard. We've been together a long time, and I've tried so hard to like football. I just can't. So the least I can do is let him get himself pizza. I've tried. It just doesn't appeal to me. And that's fine. Like, I support other people loving football and whatever brings you joy. I just don't get it personally. Okay, maybe add in just a little bit more yellow, like there and there. And then just a little bit down here. And smudge it. It's really funny because my husband and I have a lot in common, but we do have a lot of things that are very different, and football is one of them. Football is definitely one of them. Like, we both like video games, we just play different video games, and also at different quantities of time. Thought football as in soccer. That's hilarious. Yeah, I know, right? So American football. Yeah, sorry. Not the football, but like football, American football. And I'm thinking maybe having some floating candles in the background, but that will have to wait for later, I think. Okay, so there we go on that. Because I promised him that I'd be done 5 minutes ago, and it's past that. So I'm going to stop for now, but I'm thinking I'll probably have energy to come back in like another hour or so. Okay, so I don't get to play video games as much as I'd like anymore, but before we had kids, I was really into, I did like Final Fantasy for, not like desktop PC, but I did like Final Fantasy X on like game consoles. I've played every Zelda out there. I loved Kingdom Hearts growing up. I'm trying to think. There was this one, was it like Crone's Crossing or something like that. Also love just like classics like Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, you know, like older games. I am a millennial. I've played, it's been a while. I've played, was it Alice? Was that what it was called? Like a zombie-ish game? And let's see, what other games? Every time I've played the Harry Potter, like I've played a lot of different versions of the Harry Potter, but I've played the more recent one that came out, was it last year or the year before? Yeah. I don't get much time, so when I do, I usually get like my one game per every 2 to 3 years. And right now, I still have not finished the newest Zelda. I've picked it up like 3 times in the last like year. And I've almost finished it, but not quite. Oh, no, you're totally fine. Yeah, same here. I remember playing Crash 2 as a kid, right? A million times. Zelda, Final Fantasy. Yes, I like story games. I am very much the same. I can play other types of games for sure, but I do tend to enjoy games that like take me on an actual adventure. So those games are my preferred games, and I'm sure there's so many out now. I just don't have the money or the time. I would love to get invested in that. Maybe, you know, instead of like traveling while in retirement, I'll just play video games. You know, I'll have plenty of years to make up for. But anyways, I will hopefully be back. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for the last like hour. It's been awesome. 53 minutes. Thank you for hanging out with me for the last 53 minutes. It's been amazing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so, but no pressure. I get you. If you want to check out some of my other work, I have tutorials on different pieces. My most recent ones are for this one, and their limited color palette, and this one. And I've seen some people do some really cool stuff with this bookshelf. If you end up doing this and you have a social media account, and I would love to see it. I've seen people do some really cool versions of their own bookshelves, different colors or different items in different orders. It's been really cool to see. Thank you so much. All right, I'll be back hopefully soon. You guys are awesome. Take care, and if I don't see you later, make sure, you know, rest, drink, hydrate yourself, feed yourself, take your meds if you need them, got them, whatever kind of meds they are, enjoy. And I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.